VCT EMEA is the region that encompasses Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. Teams are competing in order to qualify for Masters Bangkok and Champions Paris via championship points. This is usually one of the most drama-free regions in all of VCT. But this year, the addition of new players, teams, and imports from America make this one of the most interesting seasons ever. Apeks, Gentlemates, GiantX, BBL, NAVI, Karmine Corp, Koi, Team Liquid, FUT, Team Vitality, Fnatic, and Team Heretics. This is the Hater's Guide to Valorant Champions Tour EMEA Kickoff Stage.
Apeks qualified from Ascension last year. Currently, as of the time of recording, they don't actually have a full roster, losing both their standout players, Kayak, who left to join Fnatic, and Soulcass, who left to join Koi. They did, however, make one of the biggest transfers during the off-season by picking up Florecent, meaning she will be the first ever Game Changers player to make it onto a franchise league team. For Apeks, this is quite a smart decision. Because they're an Ascension team, they do not have the same amount of brand power as other teams. This addition creates a buzz around the team, bringing more fans, especially from the Americas region, to catch their games. Whether they would do well enough to qualify for internationals is hard to tell, as EMEA is very competitive this year. They also haven't even announced their 5th player yet. I wouldn't be surprised though if they manage to pick up some upsets.
Ah, my arch nemesis. We meet once again, and this time I have seen your complete and utter collapse of last year, when you magically failed twice to make it past the first round of playoffs. And the funniest thing is, it wasn't even your fault. It was the people who cooked that god-awful playoff bracket. And you know what? I did learn something. I learned that I never want Optic to reform, especially if they look like you did last year. Let's talk about this year though. You somehow managed to drag the old man Angel out of his retirement chair and made him the IGL of this team again. And I am so excited for this man's goofy shenanigans and weird comps. But like I said in the last segment, proven IGLs are hard to come by. Shao is also returning, and at least you're keeping some of the dynamic, so old guard FPX fans will enjoy it. But joining them is the boy Hiro. Last year he did enough to motivate his team to qualify for champs, but not enough to add him to the team. But it made enough of an impression to add him to NAVI. Hiro is joined by my favorite inclusion to this roster, Koalanoob, who had seemingly been stuck in the phantom zone of tier 2 for years, only to be picked up by NAVI in a very shocking but understandable move. And last but not least, Rusik from FUT Esports. I'm just gonna trust Angel on this one and assume he's some cracked out smokes player. This team is not looking half bad. If anything, it could be a sleeper team in EMEA. Koalanoob is no slouch, and despite my reluctance to acknowledge any potential from EMEA tier 2, it is the future of the game, so I won't dog on Rusik too bad. Angel, just don't shove snus up your mouth again. Riot can't handle a little tobacco on stream. Man, did the fall off ever feel tough for this team. Gentlemates in 2023 did not really have a season most were expecting. Unlike G2 in Americas, Gentlemates never got the ball going at all. The only matchups that were worth anything were when they played other French teams, and that's mostly to do with the fans bringing incredible energy to the matches. Last year, they only won 3 matches, and any team will try to find new players after matches like that. Natank departed the roster and is now with the fraudulent LATAM team in Leviathan in the Americas. Kadavara is the only returning member of the team from last year, and I can see why. Guy's decent, not amazing, just good. Joining him is a familiar face in EMEA with Zyppan, who was previously with NAVI and before that FPX EMEA. Robbie BK from the Ascension's qualifying team in Job Life, Mini from the Ascension's team in Go Next, and Click from SK Gaming. Most of this team is composed from people no one even knows about. But hey, last year Team Heretics did the exact same thing, and we consider them to be one of the best teams of that season. A crash out this big deserves a restructure of equal magnitude. Last year, GiantX didn't have any hype, didn't have any notable names aside from Coutinho, and even then, that's a stretch, and had no expectations, and even for that, they managed to disappoint to no end, and to think we blame Redguard for the fall of this team. Regardless, this year they have kept Cloud and Purple and picked up Runner from Vitality, Tomaszy from Karmine Corp, and Westside from the Ascension's qualifying team, Diamant Esports. The last person that came from Diamant Esports was Patitek, and he was very good. Expectations are not that high, to be honest. It's GiantX. Win more than 3 matches and you already did better than last year's squad. BBL Drizzy. BBL Drizzy. Oh, wait, wrong one. Jamppi getting exercise for the incompetence of Team Liquid does not amaze me at all. What does surprise me is the fact that Jamppi moved to the IGL position, notorious for either producing talent that will be acquired over the years or lead to an early retirement like Riens. Regardless, last year the Turkish Demon squad didn't really make that much of an impact, with them ending up being another 3-win team, and this has caused some restructure in the team, with now BBL splashing outside of its Turkish market to acquire and find success. Gone is Elite, Kushner, Brave, Pauda, Rizzi, wait, they blew up the whole roster. Out of the other 3 and 10 teams, BBL did what needed to happen and let everyone go, which is the right thing to do. Coming in is the aforementioned Jamppi and some other foreign names to this roster. Sociable from FUT Esports, Chiwa from the now defunct Ascend, Profek from Ascension's qualifying team GoNext Esports, Lu Wen from Galatasaray Esports, and honestly, as much as I butchered everyone's names here, I also have no clue how this team will do. But seeing Jamppi as the team lead is probably the most interesting part of this team. This could really make or break his career, seeing as it was already going on a downhill since he won the EMEA trophy with Liquid 2 years ago.
Fnatic ended the 2024 season in a weird position. Top 6 at Champions wasn't a bad result, but it wasn't great, and despite winning both regional stages, they didn't really have a good international showing all year. Even still, it's not like they were going to change any of their players. After all, we know how good they can be when they're in form. That roster winning back-to-back championships wasn't that long ago, so I'm sure they wouldn't make any crazy moves. What? Durka is a free agent. He was quickly swooped up by Vitality, with almost no explanation from Fnatic. Eventually, speculation led us to believe that Fnatic dropped him for financial reasons, but it was still a huge blow to the team. Durka has been a top 5 duelist in the world since the beginning of the game, and it's not easy to replace a player of his skill. Either way, Fnatic had to find someone, and after Kayak's strong performance in the EMEA Ascension tournament, they went for him as their primary duelist. Whether he can fill the shoes of a hugely important player like Durka, we don't yet know, but with a good core around him, it didn't look like too bad of a move. That seemed to be it for Fnatic, an extremely solid roster with no more crazy moves. What? Fnatic signed Crashies? I mean, I guess it makes sense if Leo can't play, but it almost feels like a crossover episode of an anime. The old Optic Initiator making the huge move over to EMEA. No one knows if he'll fit into this team quite yet, and a few small off-season events aren't much to go on. It will be interesting to see if he can reach his 2022 form once again on a completely different team, or whether his shaky play from last year will continue. But either way, with these 2 super exciting roster moves, there's no doubt that Fnatic will be fun as hell to watch this season.
Last year, I had so many high expectations for this team, and I was praising the hell out of Narrate, Tomaszy, and Marteen, which did look incredible. But Magnum had done such a one-dimensional call throughout the year that once teams figure out his formula, it ended all the momentum this team had. So much so that they didn't qualify for any other international lands that year. But none of the mediocrity from last year would prevent Karmine Corp from trying its absolute best to qualify for Champions Paris this year. Karmine Corp have gone and picked up Elite from BBL, Apeks from Nazar Esports, retained Marteen, and signed Suyugetsu and Saadhak from Loud. Egwaki Sojasho. Yes, you heard that right. Saadhak from Loud, which is an incredible move considering that he mostly speaks Spanish and Portuguese. But this team is automatically in the limelight because of such a bizarre and popular move, with the combination of a very diverse talent from EMEA. Their off-season hasn't really been the hottest. They beat Koi at KC vs the World 4 and lost both their matches versus FUT and G2 at KoiCon, and also beat Koi again. Just based off of the offseason, it looks like a rough start. And I don't want to be that guy that says language barriers, but Saadhak really has only ever led a team in Portuguese in his professional career. I hope to everything that's good that they find rhythm before the season begins, because o Saadhak é uno dos meus jogadores favoritos. I just want to see my boy succeed. Can I just skip this team? Please, I just don't care. Okay, bye. Next segment. Team Liquid is truly the Cloud9 of EMEA, except they actually have a trophy unlike Cloud9. Team Liquid has gone ahead and got rid of Jamppi, Enzo, and Mystic, and now they have been scouring the depths of EMEA to find some talent to squander again. For God's sake, they had Nats and Safe on the same team at one point, where they should have won an international trophy. This year, they're retaining Keiko as their duelist, who unfortunately was surrounded by mostly mid, and didn't get to show off what people hyped them up for in Challengers. Nats, who needs no introduction, just is one of the best players of EMEA and a Masters winner with Gambit. Joining them is Camo, who had some accusations that started a small movement to get him out of VCT, Kaimek, who previously played with Joblife, and Patitek, who was the super sub for Team Heretics, where he went with them all the way to the grand finals of Master Shanghai. Unfortunately, he couldn't find a permanent spot in Heretics, but he showed that he is a high caliber player, and Team Liquid made one of the best moves in the offseason by getting him. But we still have to see how this team meshes with each other. Now, Liquid have only played a single game in the offseason, and yeah, they lost to GiantX in 2 very close maps. To be honest, I have a sinking feeling that Patitek is going to be in the same hell that Nats and Safe were in for years. Hopefully he doesn't get gaslit like Safe was. Dang, this team really let go of CNED when he was clearly one of the best parts of the team. That doesn't mean that FUT was going to be slowing down. FUT have doubled down on playing with Turkish players and kept what some considered their star player in Yedice as the flex. Mr. Fallen at IGL, Cracks at Initiator, and Ada Captain as their dedicated Omen player. They signed Zeus from HAL Esports as their duelist, and Krostalis as their sub. FUT played in the Red Bull Homeground qualifier for Turkey with their sub and beat every other team except Eternal Fire. Then they would go into the main event in Berlin and have a decent showing, beating G2, losing to T1, and a win over Karmine Corp. But unfortunately, they did not play the game against Team Heretics because of a forfeit due to health concerns, and had a 2-1 match versus T1 where they lost in the semifinals. FUT are rolling into the season with some momentum, but it doesn't feel like it's a lot. And they're in the same position as last year because the core hasn't changed much, but they have been steadily improving. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the last time we see this core together under the FUT flag if they don't bring in results. Last year, Team Vitality had no real expectations, as they only had one interesting signing and save from Team Liquid. And while they did get a bit to get the ball rolling towards the end of the year, they found significant momentum by qualifying to the EMEA playoffs for champions and going on a rather impressive run that led them at an appearance at the tournament, where they would lose to Trace and Leviathan to be eliminated. This year, much like other French orgs, the team has gone all in on the free agent market, and so much so that they went out of region for some players. Safe, Trex, and Kicks are all returning, and it's appropriate as they were the backbone of Vitality last year. But the org has been cooking with its signing in Durka from Fnatic, which came to a surprise to a lot of people. Durka had a slower year than usual Fnatic last season, where they were not as dominant as I predicted in my last EMEA video. And it seems with the ever-changing meta in Valorant, Durka probably just wanted a new team to play with and not commit the same mistakes like NAVI did last year in trying to relive the glory days. And that's respectable. The most surprising part of the offseason was the announcement of Les from Loud joining the org. Les had a very slow year with Loud, and as soon as Saadhak left the org, he was gone as well. Little did we know that they would end up in the same region. Now, the big question is this a super team? On paper, yes. But being a previous NRG fan, when you get 3 individuals with championships under their belts, all coming from different systems, things can get a little muddy. I don't really know how this team will pan out. Safe has decided to move to the IGL role, and I will stand on the same comment from Jamppi as I do for Safe. This is a make or break decision for the team. Last year, Vitality only started to find success when Safe returned to the duelist role, but getting Durka on that role might actually allow Safe to execute his vision for the team. I feel like this team is a glass cannon. It either works and they're dominant, or crash out and be like NRG last year and just fail time after time. We will just have to wait and see. My heart is broken anytime I have to think of this team making it to the grand final of 2 international events back to back and losing. Last year in my predictions video, I couldn't have been more wrong about this team. They looked bad in the offseason and then made an international event, dominated at EMEA, went to Shanghai and almost won the whole damn thing, fell short, went into EMEA Stage 2 and kept running it, went to Champions and in a crushing fashion lost to EDG at the grand finals. Ever since then, things have not been great. They went into the Red Bull Home Grounds tournament, where their run got cut off short due to health concerns, but then didn't do so great when they played Gentlemates at the Heretics XP showcase. I made the same mistake last year of underestimating them because of a bad off-season, but I know this team is still very good when something's on the line. They at minimum should be a very strong contender at the beginning of the season. And that's it. EMEA this year has far more hype from my perspective than it has in years past. It feels like a lot of it comes from America's players, and yeah, it's true. My bias this year for doing EMEA before PAC was because of players like Saadhak, Les, Koalanoob, and Florecent. Huge shout out to 4TV and Commend for writing some segments for this video. I always try to have some regional representation in my videos, and you should definitely sub to them if you haven't yet. Up next should be the pack guide, but I won't guarantee it'll come out on time. If not, I'll see you for the next VCT Americas video, and if this does well, maybe I'll do a stage 1 for EMEA. But see you at the Bangkok one for sure. Huge shout out to all the channel members, Extended Warranty, Lazy Foo, Ankles, Aware Vintage, Anonymous Gamer, Tax Evasion, Hal Hades, Juan David Vergara, and Jules. I really appreciate you guys' continued support. And if you're interested in joining the channel membership, it's only $1 a month, and you get access to all the haters guides 24 hours ahead of time. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.